Hey folks, I'm Conor Gaughan, and welcome to Consensus in Conversation, the podcast where we talk with innovators, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who are building successful businesses or helping us build a better world. Today, we're closing out a special 3-part series recorded live from the PowerCast stage at CleanPower 2025, with a conversation about service, leadership, and mission, and how those values converge powerfully with America's clean energy future. I am so excited to introduce you to Kevin Doffing, founder and CEO of Project Vanguard, a national initiative uniting veterans around clean energy careers, policy, and civic leadership. Kevin, a former Army Infantry Officer, has built a robust national network of veterans who are stepping up and speaking out for renewable energy infrastructure and workforce development. In our conversation, we discuss the critical role veterans play in accelerating the energy transition, why veterans excel in the clean energy sector, and how Project Vanguard is fostering not just career opportunities, but a lasting sense of community and belonging. We also explore how veterans can effectively engage communities and policymakers, driving essential support for renewable energy projects nationwide. Stay tuned for an inspiring dialogue about how veterans and their unique experiences are not only enhancing America's energy security, but also strengthening our communities. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be back here at the PowerCast stage. My name is Conor Gaughan. I'm the publisher and CEO of Consensus Media and the host of Consensus in Conversation. And here today to tape another live podcast. This I've been really looking forward to. It's about service, leadership, and mission, and how those values are converging in a powerful way with America's clean energy future. Joined today by Kevin Doffing, former Army officer turned clean energy advocate, and the founder of Project Vanguard, a national initiative uniting veterans around clean energy careers, policy, and civic leadership. Kevin has helped launch veteran-focused energy alliances, building a network that's showing up for this industry and for the military community in real ways. And we've got, again, a short amount of time and a really inspiring story, so we're going to jump right in. So, Kevin, we're here to talk about veterans in the energy transition, which you know a thing or two about.
Yeah, I hope so.
Could you introduce yourself and tell all of us about Project Vanguard, your mission, and the gap that you're working to solve in the sector?
Yeah, so thanks for having me out. Kevin Doffing. I work with veterans across the entire energy spectrum. So after I got out of the infantry, returned from Iraq, I ended up owning an oil and gas supply company for a decade. So a big part of Project Vanguard is a belief in an all-of-the-above energy solution to establish energy dominance. We believe energy security is national security. Veterans have a really deep exposure to that, especially combat veterans like myself. You know, I learned about energy security, energy poverty at the tip of the spear when I was in Iraq. I was handing out, diesel gas so moms could keep baby formula cold at night. And it's just that kind of energy scarcity we don't ever want to see here domestically. But also veterans make up 10% of the workforce. So as I was getting into this industry, it was a great resource for me to get in, meet other veterans, and expand my personal network and hang out with people I liked with people that were also, moving up the food chain a lot faster than their peers.
Yeah.
So Project Vanguard at its core is about the community of veterans in clean energy.
You said something there that I've heard many folks talk about. 10% of the workforce is veterans. And it's clear that clean energy is both a career path and a cause that veterans can rally behind. What do you think it is about the veterans, but also the industry that make it so simpatico?
So, it largely falls from the drive and service, mission orient, and wanting to give back and be servant leaders, right? So this is a great industry, a huge growth mindset. When I explain to people back in Houston, why do I choose clean energy over legacy forms of energy? I don't have anything against that, but I want to be in the ascendant part of the market. This is the part where everybody is ready to get after it. Everybody wants to get in it. It's a different mindset than, the scarcity mindset of, as oil and gas, which I love, is entering a long tail, right? It's plateauing right now. So I want to be in where things are growing, where you can just have a great career. And this is a great time to start that. So that's really great for veterans wanting to get in, but also there's a culture of safety and consistency in the power generation field that just really plays well to veterans, right? If you look at a lot of the places that veterans come in, we have a operational mindset. So with Project Vanguard, we always talk about being practical, not political. And that really appeals to a lot of veterans who just want to get in and be operationally excellent. And that lends itself to being safe. The carpenters measure twice, cut once. So there's just a lot of culture and mission aspects of the industry that appeal.
I want to talk a little bit more specifically about Vanguard. the first Vanguard happy hour at an ACP event was a dozen folks as they were shutting down the booths. This year, over 100. Talk about the growth of the organization, what it's been like, and how you thought about scaling this community in this space in partnership with ACP.
Yeah, I mean, the very first one was when it was still a WIA. I was in Houston. They had the annual CleanPower in Houston, and I was just trying to get a job in the industry. And they were like, oh, okay, well, you should run a veterans happy hour. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you had one. They're like, we don't, but you can be in charge of that. And I was like, okay, but I don't know anyone in this industry, but I know a lot of vets. So sure, I'll do that. And that was kind of the thing that got it started, made some good friends there. After COVID in San Antonio, we did that one where we only had 12. They're breaking down the showroom floor, but it was a great, we had the CEO of Brookfield. We had CEO of another company. So these were just really high performing folks that made time to come out and just wanted to be around and reminisce and kind of scratch the itch of that camaraderie that they want to get back to. But it's also really good business development opportunities too.
Business development on the corporate side. And I think I've heard you talk a lot about the workforce development kind of side angle there. So give folks a bit of a taste of how important this community is to the industry as it grows.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking at a workforce development side, my mission is over the next few years to take that 10% representation number and double it. So we want to be 20% of the industry. And you already see that in the utilities. So the utilities are the most veteran represented market outside of the federal government, pre-DOGE. Federal workers are typically 30% military veteran. The utilities are 20%, right? Very conservative, very consistent, safety focused, huge nuclear fleets. So they were pulling heavily from the Navy. And so that was a really great transition that built a tipping point on bringing more and more veterans into the industry. And I'd like to see the entire clean energy industry at 20%. The general industry average is 5% for veterans. So if we're 4Xing that, we're really creating a lot of great pathways into this industry and a lot of great careers for veterans.
And it feels like the companies on the floor here today, they want that too.
They do. On our board of advisors, Ken Young, the CEO of Apex, he's a West Point grad. There's a lot of really great veterans in these companies. A lot of these companies have invested in their employees with employee resource groups for veterans. There's probably 20 to 25 of those groups nationally at a lot of these big companies. And those are just ways for veterans to stay connected. And Project Vanguard can serve as an umbrella super employee resource group across the country. So we operate 12 state chapters nationally. These are just opportunities for that core component of our membership, the veterans that are already working in clean energy, to come together, to aggregate them, to connect them. And then it helps those veterans that desperately want to get in the industry but don't know how to find a pathway in. And then we're able to create awareness campaigns to tell the story to all the veterans and current service members about the opportunities in this industry.
You mentioned current service members, and I know we've talked a little bit in the past about this notion that there's a unique moment where the country is transitioning more and more towards clean energy, and more of these active duty servicemen and women are looking for their post-military transition. This moment of transition seems to have a lot of significance. Hoping you could talk to that.
Yeah. So every military veteran goes through this crazy period of life called their transition out of the military. And it's a little bit like one of the hardest times everybody has. You're changing cities, you're moving your family, you're changing industries, you're changing the type of job you have. It's a spiritual identity crisis wrapped in a midlife crisis. So we do all of that, but we do it 200,000 times a year with every service member that's leaving the service. And it's insane that we haven't figured out how to do it successfully yet. And a lot of times that never translates over, but everybody has a great story. And if we can just relieve that pain and put them in a great industry, we're not just improving our industry, we're improving the outcomes for veterans and their families.
It really is. I mean, I think about some of the stories that we've been hearing today as we talk to a bunch of these veterans. It's such a compelling narrative that these folks have. They were defending this country, defending our national security, and now they're working in a sector, arguably, that's at the tip of the same thing. I'm hoping you can kind of talk about that a second.
Yeah, no, I mean, so we have these people that have done amazing service for their country, putting country before themselves, that have been exposed to the best leadership, curriculum and experience that you could have in the world. And then we're able to redeploy them into this new industry. And I get calls every week on, hey, do you have somebody that could write an op-ed here or do this earned media piece or something? Do you know veterans in the industry and these places, and they just make great messengers. And every time I talk to one of these media groups, a newspaper, a TV station, like, man, I just don't know where you're ever going to find somebody else that can tell a story like that. I'm like, I have 1,000 of them. I literally have 1,000 of them on our platform. Everybody has an amazing story. We just need to get those stories out there. And I think that's not just with veterans, but with landowners and frontline workers. It's one of the challenges that this industry has gotten behind on. We've done an amazing work of building really difficult projects, but we have not elevated the voices of the people doing it. And those are the people who are in those communities that could have the most impact, especially on these state and local county, issues, which really drive or impede our industry growth. We have the right messengers. We're just not elevating them. And that's one of the things I want to do with veterans.
I think it reminds me of the moment we're in right now, the conversations we've been having the last couple of days around what's happening in Washington and the uncertainty that is driving here at this event in the industry. I'd say it's an understatement to say that the clean energy transition is kind of caught up in a partisan debate in ways that don't make a ton of sense. But your work actively invites veterans across the spectrum to have a conversation that's not political and not partisan. How does that look on the ground? How do you do that on the ground?
So, listen, I believe in climate change. I have kind of 3 rules with how we talk about things, right? Climate change is real. Don't deny it, but don't smack people over the head with it. Oil and gas is not the enemy. So we don't need to dunk on them. We don't need to point out things. Just, we all need it. We don't build wind turbines without a diesel crane. And no assholes. We just got to be good people to other people. That's really it. We're all neighbors. We're all Americans, and we need to keep that in mind. So being practical, not political, is the game. And a lot of times I hear people talk in these small communities when we talk to them, they hear the message for the first time. It's not like they haven't heard an FAQ sheet from like a community engagement or a developer or something else, but they're hearing it from somebody who they believe has their interests at heart. And so for the first time, they're like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't cause cancer when that wind turbine blows. Yeah, no kidding, man. That solar panel doesn't generate a hurricane either. Oh, you're right. They've heard this before, but in a lot of cases, there's just this desert of quality content coming around them. And their media diet is just fed with, memes created by people my dad's age that are floating around Facebook groups. And if that's all you're eating, you can't be upset with the result. So we got to get out there and spread this message with people that care about the people we're talking to.
I think one of the unique messages that veterans as messengers are uniquely equipped to tell is something I've heard you say before, that the transition to renewables could actually help reduce global conflict. I'm hoping you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, if you look at it's a lot of scarcity, right? So like when we're talking about the great resources that America has on wind, on solar, on nat gas, on oil, on everything, we have the ability to be energy independent. And a lot of the conflicts that I was in Iraq, I wasn't there because I was trying to spread democracy. We were trying to secure a critical supply chain on a global commodity, oil and gas, right? And so the more that we can get off of that, and we can alleviate our needs for a lot of these requirements inside of our energy base, because energy is 2 to 3% of GDP, but it's the first 2 to 3%, right? If we don't have that, we don't have the industrialized world that we all enjoy. So being able to home grow that creates a lot of energy security, and energy security is national security. If we're not able to control and contain a lot of this, we're now at the whims of other countries. And that's just, a lot of times the people who are controlling those assets are not the people we're culturally or ideologically aligned with, right? We're not aligned with Russia, Iran. We're not aligned with how they treat their citizens, how they want to run their government. We want the political and personal freedoms that are enshrined in the Constitution. And to be able to do that, we need to be able to grow and produce our own energy. Wind and solar are also the only 2 forms of energy that don't consume water. So, after energy, water is the next big thing that we got to worry about. And everything else is about boiling water to move a steam turbine. So, I just think that it's the smartest technological gain that we could have to increase our force projection for our military, but also secure what we already have within our borders.
And it's particularly acute as the demand strategy continues to explode. This conference is about scaling utility scale clean energy. Mm-hmm. What are the most important ways that veterans can help move the needle when it comes to local support for this huge national scale sector?
So when I talk to a lot of veterans, a lot of them will tell me, hey, I'd love to talk, but I'm not a hippie. And I'm like, that's fine. Neither am I. We're just going to talk about energy security. We're going to talk about energy dominance that's fulfilled through an all the above approach. And we're going to talk about how great these jobs are for veterans and how much money they're making and how much growth opportunity they have. That's it. We don't need to sell past the close, right? I think one of the critiques I'd have for the industry is we stayed too long on a net zero, zero emissions narrative. We sold that crowd 10 years ago. We sold past the close and kept going on it. Right now, we're trying to reach the tranche of Americans that just want to make their paycheck. They don't care about a hole in the ozone layer if they got a hole in their roof. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, as much as you might care about climate, it doesn't matter. So I think that veterans' most important place that they can be is to just bring that pragmatism to their local officials and just say, listen, I don't care what you've heard. This is important to me, and this is why. It makes sense. It secures our national prosperity, and these are great jobs. That's it. You don't have to say anything else.
You've built this amazing community. You've heard all these stories. As you said, you've got 1,000 stories in your back pocket of these folks. I'm wondering if there's one story or moment from the past year or so that captures the real world impact of Project Vanguard and that captures your heart.
So we're supporting a local project siting in Eastern Indiana for a solar farm. And my guy on the ground there just has a great servant heart. Like if he doesn't have a meeting for a few hours, he just likes to go to the grocery store and find a vet with a, Army or Navy hat on and make sure that they have their benefits. So, I mean, not directly related to the project, but he has a servant heart. He just wants to get out and help people. And so he's been doing a lot of this stuff and getting out there. He's been turning a lot of the older vets at the American Legion Hall that have never heard these things before. But his work at the Vet Center around getting jobs and helping veterans in the local community turned one of the county commissioners to the project developer and said, hey, I know I've never been willing to meet with you before, but this guy's doing good work and he says that these projects matter. Let's do a meeting. It's just doing good work and being a part of that community. Right. And being able to do that and then engage in the opposition and just have a frank conversation with them and listen to them without getting angry is huge. I mean, I used to work with terrorists. I mean, we took a period when I was in Iraq of an extremely kinetic period to where we locked things down and started stabilizing it. And then we started building up the Iraqi army and Iraqi police forces in our area. I'm literally paying somebody and this guy starts mimicking and talking about something. And he starts talking about a firefight that we had 2 months ago where they shot at us. Now, nobody got hurt. So, that guy's still walking around. But, I'm sitting here paying this guy who was literally shooting at me 2 months ago. But I'd rather be paying him to secure this area because he had no other way of earning money than him shooting at me to get $5.
Yeah.
So I would much rather have people on our side that used to work against us than continually fight against the same people.
Yeah. What do you think the clean energy leaders and policymakers could be doing to better support the veterans community?
I think that if we can get through whatever tax bill is going to come down and we don't reduce the GI Bill, which is the greatest social mobility tool America's ever created. There was talk at one point of cutting the apprenticeship program, the Skill Bridge program, which is a distant second, but a great program for transitioning service members out, which ACP now has a Skill Bridge where you can get a free 6-month project manager apprentice at your company for free. So anybody who's interested, reach out to me because that's now available to all ACP members. But I think that more apprenticeships is the key to this. And I know that may have a labor, label that some people might not like. I'm from Texas. I get that. Anything that sounds like labor is immediately, thrown down. But these apprenticeships are just tremendous opportunities to create pathways in and get people trained up for skilled trades, but also some of the white collar opportunities like SkillBridge does.
Yeah.
So I think more apprenticeships is the key to being able to shorten that transition pipeline and pain.
Looking ahead, what is next for Project Vanguard? What are you excited about? Where are you looking to grow? How can folks be supportive?
Yeah. So if you want to join Project Vanguard, you can go to projectvanguard.com. We've got a Slack community of hundreds of veterans. If you're just a civilian supporter that wants to support, you can join as well. We've got a jobs channel in there. Feel free to drop anything in there. We're still working on our meme game. And if you're not familiar with what veteran memes look like, that's okay. Don't Google it. I don't know what you're going to get and I don't recommend it, but there's some pretty good stuff out there. So, We're just trying to really build up our frontline veterans, some of the landowners as we reach more into these rural communities. And we're starting up chapters in North Carolina and Virginia right now.
What message would you have for the folks that are walking the floor today? There's such a great community of folks in the industry, maybe not as familiar with Vanguard. What do you want them to know about your work and the work of the veterans are doing in their industry?
Yeah, so I think that hiring veterans is a critical component to advancing this industry, but it doesn't happen where you lower the bar. The worst thing you can ever do when you're hiring veterans is to lower the bar to make it a charity case. The bar goes up, not down. So if you're going to make a veteran hire, you should expect more out of them. The worst thing I've ever heard is like, well, but I want to hire a vet, but they don't know what they're doing and they are not qualified for the job and they were late for their interview. Okay, no, not happening. You need to raise the bar of expectations and we should meet that and exceed it. So making those job opportunities available is great, but we want to help you find those candidates, source those candidates if we can. There's tons of programs and opportunities. There's Airstreams, there's Tower Training Academy. There's so many opportunities that are bringing veterans into the industry that you don't need to recreate the wheel. We have a community of veterans that want to help others do that can be pure mentors, make sure they land and are successful. So I would just say, hiring veterans is great, but doing it the right way, efficiently and effectively is even better so that they stay at your company and they continue to lead inside of it.
Yeah. I've been ending all of my sessions with the same question. I'm going to leave with you today, which is, what gives you hope? What makes you optimistic these days?
So this is the first time I've ever been involved in the advocacy at the state level or federal level. So these are my first sessions. But from what I've seen over the last 3 years when I talk to people, I don't think everybody that's been fighting this fight for so long realizes how close we are to winning. I think that the huge growth over the last 3 years is underappreciated. The amount of installed capacity we have, the resources that have come to bear, the huge turnouts at events like ACP Sighting Conference, all of these things are just, the CAGR is just rapidly scaling. And I think that everybody doesn't realize we've already kind of won the practical game. Now we need to win the messaging game. If you look at what you need to install and build data centers, what are you going to be able to build inside of 18 months? Wind and solar. That's it. So, we've already won the economics game. You can argue tax credits in or out, but the senior debt wants to invest into infrastructure. This is the best, most cost-effective infrastructure. So, the practicalities on the ground is we've won. We now need to take that message and refine it, find better messengers, and we need to get after it and convince those people that we haven't already gotten onto our side that this is in their own best interest with an authentic message.
I like a winning message to end the day. So thanks for everything you've done for the industry, for the veteran community. Thanks for educating all of us. And thanks for being here today.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
I came away inspired by my conversation with Kevin Doffing, a visionary leader harnessing the discipline, strength, and dedication of veterans to accelerate America's transition to clean energy. To learn more about Project Vanguard and how you can get involved, visit projectvanguard.com. We'll include links and more in our show notes. This episode concludes our special CleanPower 2025 series, recorded live from the PowerCast stage in Phoenix, Arizona. You can find more episodes of Consensus in Conversation wherever you get your podcasts. Consensus in Conversation is hosted and executive produced by me, Conor Gaughan. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram at ckgaughan. This episode was produced by Kate Tucker for Consensus Digital Media in partnership with American Clean Power. Special thanks to our PowerCast production team, ACP's Senior Manager of PowerCast, Hannah Papp, James Lampeter of Diamond Pro Audio, and Slide Spiel for video production. Gratitude, as always, to the team at Consensus, including Greg Harrigal on research and Patrick Gallagher on strategy. Consensus in Conversation can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. If you like the show, please give us a follow and leave a review. It makes a big difference. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.